From Screech to Maurice Moss to Tony Stark, the nerd subculture has undergone a metamorphosis. It somehow went from the bullied outcast of society into a satanic scare, all the way into the main hero of many blockbuster films.
Your work on anti-electron collisions is unparalleled.
However, unintentionally, nerd culture would effectively destroy itself by becoming the one thing that it swore never to be: popular.
You already did? Oh shit, dude.
Screen, iPod, with touch.
I'm gonna be real. Well, I'm gonna go just get to it. I think it's popular because people like my age, they done grew up and we've been growing up watching anime, doing all that stuff, thinking all that was cool. So we older now. We the people that's what's making stuff cool. So obviously it's gonna be cool. Like, am I tripping? Like, that's why nerd culture really died down for real. Because we the ones that's making it now. We making what's the culture, basically. Everybody grew up playing games and everything.
So when it comes to the term nerd, the origins of it come from Dr. Seuss, from a book that he wrote
Really?
called If I Run a Zoo, written in the 50s. By the early 60s, the term had spread. It was being used to describe a certain type of very bookish, socially inept person.
Goddamn nerds. Nerds! 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 Nerds!
But it would really be in the 70s with the show Happy Days, where the term
Never
nerd
heard
would
of
end
it.
up in mainstream vernacular. There wasn't just this sudden boom of socially awkward and hyper-intelligent kids because of fluoride in the tap water. These types of people have, of course, existed all throughout history. They existed under many different names, but what's most interesting is that their social standing and status really
Hey, nah, fuck that. I gotta go back real quick. Man, who did this to my man? I be seeing that picture all the time. Who did
they
that to
existed
my
under many
man?
different names, but
Who did this to my man? Who say, bruh, in order to be one of us, you gotta get a reverse bowl cut? Like, bro, what is this cut, my boy? Like, what? Somebody gotta explain this one to me. I never understood this. Like, what is going on, my boy? Who told you he had to do this? You need to fight them. They got you fucked up. Come on, come on, man.
what's most interesting
What they got going
is that
on?
their social standing and status
Need to
really
fight them
varied
boys.
under the context of the culture that they were in. In the 1500s in England, there was the term bookworm. Bookworms were people who dedicated and devoted lots of their time to reading and studying. This makes sense because this happened in the Enlightenment period. Reading and studying were now common activities. Every little Billy boy was getting a book for Christmas instead of just a ball of yarn. And so there was a rise in big brain, high IQ quickscopers.
Enemy down.
But even further back, ancient China had Junzi, India had Brahmin, and of course you had the Greek philosophers and scholars. The social
you
standing
grabbing his knee
and
like that?
society's view of these people was
Wildin'.
starkly different to that of the bullied nerd in the 70s.
Why your shoes untied?
Often these people were heralded as wealthy, smart, successful. Your very typical image of the weak, weedy looking dork was the complete opposite of the strong, wealthy, stoic of Marcus Aurelius. But it would be in the 70s where this reverence towards people that maybe could be defined as nerdy completely changed into the opposite.
Do I look like Mother Teresa? If I did, I probably wouldn't mind talking to the Geek Squad.
Before we go any further with this video, I want to give a massive shout out to Bespoke Post for sponsoring. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club and they deliver you a box of awesome. It's free to join and you can skip a month or cancel
Oh, I
at any
thought it was
time.
nice.
What's cool
I was
is
gonna
that
say, what the
90%
hell
of the
type of
products are from
sponsorship
small
this
brands,
is?
many of which that are based in the US. Every month they introduce their members to new cool products. That can be stuff like outdoor gear, home and kitchen goods, clothing and more based on a preference quiz that you'll take. Every single box of awesome has about $70 worth of goods, but only costs you a fraction of the value. Before your box is even shipped, you'll be able to preview what it is you're going to receive. So then you can
Yeah,
decide whether
no.
you want to keep that box or maybe swap it for a different box, or if you don't like it at all, you can just skip that month and wait for the next. You only ever pay for what you want. One of the products I really like is the Weekender. It's this really nice looking bag. It just kind of has that sort of nature, outdoorsy look to it. The next one I really like is this knife called Forge. Proper
Oh,
in
I
media
hate
and
the wrong
film,
button.
you'd see portrayals of nerdy archetypes. It was around this same sort of time.
Never taking that level of disrespect right there. I never understood, man. I gotta be fighting every day if I was them. Ain't no way I could take that level of disrespect. Every day? No. Every day you take that level of disrespect, ain't no way. Couldn't be me. Boy, shit, boy, you gotta see me real quick. It's all I can't take that level.
It was around this same sort of time
They
in the
took his bow
70s
tie,
where
too.
you were having a rise in things like science fiction, fantasy books, comic books, tabletop board games, collector culture, as well as the emergence of hacking, coding with computers. And so there was becoming a number of interests and
Never played
hobbies that
D&D.
become the backbone of nerd culture.
This costume is the uniform that I've designed from the film project that I'm working on, and it should be noted that this is only a
Star Trek.
prototypical version.
What is it about these interests, particularly in that era, that caused people to look down on the nerd? Well, I think it has a lot to do with what society and culture was like in the 60s to the 80s, what success meant, and what industries were leading at the time. This was like the golden age of marketing and advertisement. You were seeing industries such as real estate, automotive, insurance, entertainment, media. All of these industries
Hold on, my boy, hold on. No, we ain't gonna just pass by that.
Industries such as real estate, automotive, insurance, entertainment.
But what that is, I know that ain't the price of the truck. I know that ain't the price of the truck right there. Ain't no way, 6,700? You, what? 6,700? Come on, man, six bands to get you a brand new truck. I know that's back then, but come on, man. That's crazy. 6 bands. Oh, man.
Entertainment, media, all of these
man.
industries tended to have
I
a
could
very
never
particular
imagine.
type of person that would
Oh, you can't even buy a used truck for 6 bands. I'm being real with you. You can't even buy a used truck for that price. Like, come on, what?
be successful in them.
is coming. Hey!
Recognize
Smooth
that.
Mickey with his greaseback hair, his nice colourful suit, and his used car dealership, he would have been the top of his social hierarchy. The ladies wanted him and the men wanted to be him. So, of course, society elevated
Is
and
that
championed
Grease?
the
Am I tripping?
archetype of the jock, and in turn bullied the archetype of the nerd. I mean, there's probably like a biological reason to doing this. Nerdy hobbies and activities and interests at the time were very much not rewarded in the marketplace. To get by, be successful and survive, you needed the more charismatic, confident type of personality, and twiddling around with a computer and playing Dungeons and Dragons wasn't the thing that was going to make you wealthy. And I think this can be really epitomized by the Satanic Panic.
You have eyewitnesses. For instance, one case, the parents were actually saw their child summon Dungeons and Dragons demons into his room before he killed himself.
What a propaganda in whatever 60s, 70s, 80s, or whatever the hell era this is crazy. Talk about she saw him summon demons before he killed his son, bro. Wildin'. Well, y'all used to go hard back in the day, ain't it? Y'all used to say anything. Bro just couldn't play a game. He got to be summoning demons out here. That's wild. Be real with you.
There was a push to try and ban these games. They were taken out of shops, schools, etc. for fear that little Timmy would play D&D one day and then slit a goat's head off the next.
I have spells. I'm going to fly.
You don't have enough points. I am the maze controller.
From Elvis Presley to John Travolta and Tom Cruise, these were the idolized types of personalities in that era. A character like Don Draper would be the epitome of a successful man in the 70s and 80s.
But everybody else's tobacco's toasted.
No, everybody else's tobacco is poisonous. Lucky Strikes is toasted.
However, under the surface, a revolution was happening that would completely flip the world on its head, and that was the invention of the personal computer.
Yeah. Yeah, I can go
In
for
the
that,
70s,
yeah.
there were a few PCs that came along, but the one that really took center stage was the Apple II. That was released in 1977 and had become highly successful in the mass mainstream market. And the genius behind this creation was one man in particular. Steve Jobs.
I would
As
say
well as a
Bill
whole
Gates
team of
like a
other people.
dumbass.
It
I don't
sounds
know
cool
why.
to say it like that.
That's maybe the most important thing, is to
That's what he used to look like?
shake off this.
I ain't never seen him for real.
This
I just always seen the old picture.
erroneous notion that
When
life
he was an old man.
is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it.
Steve Jobs was very unique. He was this very nerdy but also very charismatic person. Despite being into computers, coding, etc., he had this charm and likableness to it. The way he would speak wasn't that of like the kind of dorky nerd. Instead, he had kind
He was likable. From all the stories I heard of Steve Jobs, they say he was an asshole. They say he was horrible to be around. I ain't never heard them saying he was likable. I guess that was later in age or something. He became an asshole or something.
of a more hippie, creative, inspirational way of speaking. The iconic Apple adverts, as well as his very unique way of launching products.
Hello, I am Macintosh.
Meant that he had completely challenged the typical notion of what a nerd was. And throughout his career, he became a very unorthodox cultural icon. But you see, all of the characteristics I've mentioned about Steve Jobs, his charisma, his charm. Alright, Jimmy, we get it, you like Steve Jobs. It was clear that Steve Jobs kind of had one foot in and one foot out of nerdom.
Are you a hippie or a nerd?
Oh, if I had to pick one of those two, I'm clearly a hippie. They work with computers because they are the medium that is best capable of transmitting some feeling that you have, that you want to share with other people.
But there would be one other person who would come along and make a cultural impact and was unashamedly your classic nerd. And that was Bill Gates.
My boy. 100% my boy. He made Xbox, so that's my boy right there. The Xbox 360 was my shit. Halo 3 was my shit. All day, all night. Every day. That was my shit.
So the microprocessor, the chip that drives it, improving so rapidly.
Fuck just happened? What the fuck was that? Hold up. Why did bro come out of nowhere and throw a pie in his face? What is going on? What did you do for somebody to throw a pie in your face? What is going on? Your security is horrible. Fire them boys. What the hell? See, that level of disrespect. Hey, we gotta chase that boy. We gotta go get him. You ain't finna just throw no pie in my face. And I'm supposed to walk it off after while I'm on camera. Oh, nah. Come back here. Like Charleston White say. I'm gonna get the motherfucker recording. You recording, you getting your ass whooped too, because you probably seen this coming. Fuck, you gotta get your ass whooped too. Damn, you fucked up.
Any access to information or processing of information would move into the PC, and it would be the tool of the information age.
Hey man, why you picking up videos? He was horrible.
From his look to his very factual, intellectual way of speaking, he embodied the classic image that everyone had of what a nerd was. But yet, mainstream culture seemed to embrace him, being heralded in 1995 in Times Magazine as the master of the universe. And so, as Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were rising in cultural significance, more and more film and TV depictions of nerds would come along. However, the stereotype really didn't change much. From Milhouse in The Simpsons, Steve Urkel in Family Matters, and Screech Powers in Saved by the Bell, these were all dorky nerds who were constantly the butt of every single joke. But then, in steps the 2000s.
What is iPod?
Panasonic DVD player, digital palm recorder.
Ready for a more useful internet? Welcome to MSN Broadband.
Technology was rapidly advancing every single year. Owning a personal computer had gone from this thing that very few people had to now pretty commonplace in most people's homes. And so with this, the accessibility into nerdy activities and communities was becoming far and far more easy, as well as far more discreet and private. You know, instead of having to flash a virginity card to get into Comic-Con where you're dressed up as a level 20 warlock, you could now very quietly and discreetly talk in online forums far and far away from polite society, as you would geek out with like-minded individuals over your love for Star Trek. And so the computer really became a Trojan horse for the world of nerds. And this brings us on to the next pillar of nerd radicalization, and that was the inception of MMORPGs.
Increase your profit
Well,
and work
wow.
less time with
Wow.
Kittle,
And
a
WoW
genius
came
new
out.
AI tool which is perfect for
RuneScape.
In my opinion, there was one game that really opened up the floodgates into the world of nerds, and that game was RuneScape.
Really?
You all probably know about RuneScape, a massive fantasy world where you roleplay as some kind
Nobody,
of
I ain't
character,
never played
leveling
it.
up your skills, etc. But there's a reason I say RuneScape as opposed to the more elaborate MMORPGs like World
Came
of
later.
Warcraft, and that's because RuneScape was a free game. And not only that, but it could operate on your browser.
Man, playing RuneScape there?
On pretty much any quality of computer. And so, you didn't need to know how to download, or whatever the hell that meant, and you didn't need an incredibly expensive high-end computer. RuneScape was a very important stepping stone for taking the world of nerd culture and open it up to a more mainstream world. For me, my evolution into nerdy culture was effectively my parents bought a computer, you know, to do work and whatnot. Someone in school told me about the game Neopets, so I played that, but it just wasn't hitting the spot, so then I moved on to RuneScape. RuneScape was then my gateway drug into the Source Engine games of Counter-Strike, Team Fortress, and Gary's Mod, where there was far more elaborate communities around these games. There was like well-known players, clans, servers, and jokes.
What are you doing in my swamp?
These very niche jokes that typically existed in video games would go on to lay the foundations for meme culture. And so in the 2000s, meme culture was massively spreading. You'd have things like Trollface and of course Forever Alone, which I think really embody the typical mentality of a nerd. Trolling being the enjoyment of making people look stupid, and then Forever Alone being the acceptance that we're never going to get laid. Websites like 4chan, Reddit, Newgrounds would really help
You ain't supposed to go on 4chan for sure. 4chan is a no-go right there. That's a wild place you do not want to be right there. You can go on Reddit and I forgot what else he said, but oh, Newground, damn, Newground. Is Newground still around? No, I don't think Newground's still around. I think they closed down, ain't it? Damn. I mean, nah, I don't think they closed down. It can't be. I ain't going for it.
Proliferate
I ain't
meme
going for it.
culture. But into the late 2000s, things were changing very suddenly. These previously more isolated communities that were siloed away in different parts of the internet, like whilst I was double door banging someone down mid on Dust 2, someone else might be... I think I'm going to use ChatGPT to get a reference here. Pop bloodlust and burst down Onyxia before she takes flight into phase 2. Maybe that means something to you. This would change where things like Reddit and Tumblr and then more mainstream social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube would become more and more popular in the early 2010s. These platforms were far more centralized. If you're on Reddit, you might have a bunch of different niche
I never used Reddit
subcultures
before.
that were starting to experience some more connectiveness. So as the visibility of these fandoms grew, the mainstreamification of nerd culture was truly underway.
Those aren't your regular tourists. Those are zombies, ninjas, and villains. But don't worry, you're safe. This is Comic-Con.
But it wasn't just this. There was a few other very important...
I ain't gonna lie. One of these years, I'm gonna go to Comic-Con. I just gotta find somebody that'll slide, ride, go with me or something like that, and I'm gonna go. I wanna go to Comic-Con even though I know that it's probably gonna be horrible. I still wanna go. Just gotta do it. I've been wanting to go to Comic-Con since I was a kid. I'm gonna be real. And Comic-Con and E3, I've been wanting to go to them for the longest since I was a jit. So I got to do it for the culture, as he said. For the culture, I got to go. And another thing why I feel like it took off is because, like I said, we grew up playing games, not reading manga or nothing like that, but playing games and watching anime. Because even with the anime, that came on Cartoon Network after a certain time. Toonami, back in the day, yeah, it had One Piece on there. It had I can't really remember nothing else right now, but it had One Piece. And yes, I think that the theme song that Toonami had back in the day, it was fire. I don't care what nobody say. That theme song for One Piece back in the day was fire. Let's be real. Ain't nobody finna say it was trash to me. That song was fire. But then even when Toonami left, they still had anime on there. They had the big three. You had Naruto, you had Bleach, you had a bunch of anime. What else they had on there? Like with them shows that make it, as we come Dragon Ball Z, I can't forget that. When Dragon Ball Z popped off, everybody and their mama was watching it at one point. Everybody know who Goku is. Everybody my age, when Goku said, "Give me your energy for a spirit bomb," what everybody did. I know for a fact I got up and did this for sure. I gave up that for my energy for sure. We had to win at all costs. You hear me? We had to win for sure. Even though with Majin Buu we still died, but I ain't care about that. I thought we won. I gave that man my energy to try to beat Majin Buu. We lost, but hey, we came back. We lost though, but we still came back though. I had to get Dragon Balls, but Kid Buu would beat some ass. I went on the whole run by Dragon Ball Z just did. That's crazy.
That would lead to the 2010s nerd boom, such as the success of the film Iron Man, which led to the insane rise of superhero films that we unfortunately have to put up with today.
I ain't gonna lie. As a nerd, hold up.
Humbly present the Jericho.
Iron Man.
Oh yeah, I remember. But yeah, I sort of can't stand superhero movies now. Like they getting trash. Marvel getting trash. I can say that. Marvel really starting to be trash. Like they slacking on everything. Like it's happening with Disney too, but I guess that's because of Disney overworking them. They workers. I know for sure. With Disney turnaround time on movies and all that, they being overworked like a motherfucker. They probably pulling 100-hour weeks every week type shit. Like I know they being overworked. That's why Thor: Love and Thunder looked so bad, because they overworking them boys. Really, like they need a break. Something.
And really changed the archetype of the typical nerd. Tony Stark was depicted in this kind of suave, sarcastic, hyper-intellectual person who was a bit snarky. This archetype would become massive in the world of nerdy films. You could see it in the reboot of Doctor Who, along with Sherlock Holmes.
Molly, coffee, thank you.
I've seen that Sherlock Holmes.
It wasn't working for me. Really? I thought it was a big improvement. Mouth's too small now.
And of course, Sheldon Cooper in the infamous Big Bang Theory.
Any questions? Of course not.
Big Bang Theory was a true portal into nerddom.
No.
Overnight, every single popular
I'm not giving Big Bang Theory no type of props with nerd culture. No, I'm not. No, they ain't do nothing. Being real with you, it was a funny. To me, it was funny. It was a funny show, but I don't think I would point that as like, oh, this was one of the moments where it was really changing nerd culture. No, I don't think that was Big Bang Theory. Wasn't that? I think it. No, I don't know how to get the words out to say how I feel about. I don't hate Big Bang Theory. I actually sort of like it, but I don't think it's one of the turning points in like being accepted as nerds.
Girl in school had fundamentally transformed their entire personality into being a nerdy girl. They would put on their big glasses that had no lens in them as they typed away furiously on Tumblr, sharing memes and declaring their love for various fandoms. But at the same time, we were still seeing your typical nerd in films like Superbad with McLovin, but that was starting to become less and less. More so, films and TV would often show nerds as this
just like
cool,
comedy movies. If you want to see that video, you should go to the other one. How the YouTubers be doing it, yeah.
Smart ass, which for every single nerd of the 90s and 2000s
Watch my
who
other
grew
video.
up being bullied, this new archetype to them was very popular because it kind of represented a retribution.
Big man in a suit of armor. Take that off. What are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
By now it's the 2010s, and the video game industry is growing.
There you
and growing.
go.
And now
There
there
you
was a
go.
new game that was becoming the doormat for people to come into the world of nerddom. That being
Call of Duty. Yeah. Ooh, the goat right there. Hold on, you gotta show the picture again. That was the goat.
Call of Duty.
Modern Warfare 2 was the GOAT for sure, but I spent so many hours on Modern Warfare 2. Boy. Oh, I couldn't stand trick shots though. Y'all was some assholes. I'm being real. I couldn't stand FaZe back in the day. On the real, I couldn't stand FaZe. All y'all boys, I couldn't stand you. Yeah, I know this video ain't gonna go nowhere, but still. Yeah, just gotta get that out of there. I couldn't stand FaZe Clan. Because they started all that trick shots and I couldn't stand trick shots because I couldn't do it. I'm going to be 100% real. I couldn't trick shot. So that's why I hate y'all. I couldn't trick shot or quick scope. That's why I hate quick scoping. Can't stand y'all. Y'all can go to hell. In my opinion. Fuck y'all. I couldn't stand y'all when y'all started quick scoping and everything. I run around the corner and get my ass blasted. Like, come on now. Y'all blasted me. Like, I can't even aim down sight without dying. Like, I hated y'all boys. I did. I hated y'all with a passion. I really did. I'm just thinking about that. I really hated y'all with a passion.
Group 11 right here by the door, please. Group 11.
Gaming throughout the 2000s was still mainly seen as kind of nerdy, but Call of Duty brought the cool kids. Now, even Chad the Jock was doing 360 no-scopes. The release of every new COD became this cultural phenomenon. It was as important as big sporting events to young kids. And it just snowballed from here. The success of nerd culture grew and grew. As YouTube grew in popularity and streaming a bit later in the 2010s, gamers were not only becoming popular online, but they were becoming very wealthy. The dorky, nerdy, loser gamer stereotype really was being challenged in the late 2010s. As we'd see the rise in these content creators like Tfue, Ninja, FaZe Clan that were all not only extremely wealthy, but tended to be quite charismatic and confident, and they seemed to have success with the ladies. And so, by the late 2010s, the nerds had finally got their revenge. Women were even allowed into nerddom around the 2010s.
Cool, as in it's fun to do.
Hold on, that's crazy. You calling that the 2010s? You put up a Fortnite clip? That ain't nowhere near the 2010s. Well, I guess so. Hold up. That would have been like 2017, 2018 right there. 2018. Yeah. No, can you call that to 2010 still? That's crazy. You can still call that the 2010s.
Everyone
Guess so.
is mine to torment.
And so, along with Call of Duty, we were seeing more and more nerdy franchises becoming
Game of
mainstream.
Thrones.
Game of Thrones, Avengers, Fortnite.
Game of Thrones had people in the chokehold at one point in time. Y'all Game of Thrones fans were crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all couldn't stop talking about no Game of Thrones.
Minecraft, these things were breaking financial records and were becoming wide-reaching industries through things like merchandising. But there was a problem. With all this success and popularity that nerd culture had achieved, nerds were kind of experiencing an identity crisis. If nerds were no longer being bullied, ostracized, and rejected by society, but in fact championed and celebrated and were now cool, then what really was a nerd anymore?
I've never been so overwhelmed by so many fans ever in my life. There's so many of you guys here, it's so awesome.
It's really interesting to think on why. Why so suddenly did society completely change its opinion on nerds? Well, my theory is that the social marketplace changed. As I explained earlier about the 60s and the 80s, charisma, confidence, charm, sociability, these were all the key characteristics to get you ahead and successful in mainstream culture. Sitting in your mum's basement, necking Mountain Dew and playing Dungeons and Dragons was not. But as technology advanced, computer literacy became a very important and valuable skill set. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg all became owners of mega corporations. Silicon Valley dominated the market. Tech startups.
Fuck EA. I can fuck with Sony. AMD, I fucks with your PayPal, eBay, I fucks with your. God damn, all that's in Silicon Valley. That's what Silicon Valley is? I ain't gonna lie. I just knew what it was. I ain't never really know what it was though.
Were popping up left, right, and center. All of these things becoming more profitable than anyone had ever imagined. And so the old archetype of the charming, smooth, suave socialite wasn't made redundant, but it was definitely not as important as it was. And so society's opinion on nerds changed.
This is LARPing.
Get back from the green menace!
Nowadays, nerd culture still exists, but the term, it doesn't really work so well now. The homogenization of interest.
Nah, I don't think you could get a lot of people to go LARPing. I know somebody that LARP, but I ain't that type of nerd. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not. I don't think I'd dress up and go LARPing or something. I tried probably. I might try, but I don't think that'd be something I did on the regular. Because they be doing like practices and training and all that. They be taking that serious. I don't think I can do that. Being real.
Hard for people to clearly fall into categories of interests that could only solely be defined as nerdy. I mean, you can see this with the new wave of gym bros, which I made a whole video on, who very often come from pretty geeky and nerdy backgrounds. They might enjoy video gaming, they get really into the science of bodybuilding, but yet, physically, they look more so like the traditional jock. The mainstreaming of counterculture is a part of any subculture's evolution. I mean, you just have to look at hip-hop, punk, hipsters. Typically, the characteristics that bring people's success will be accepted by the mainstream. But I'll end on one final thing, and that is that the nerds made it. So next time you're out and about and you see a nerd, make sure that you look him in the eye, shove him in a locker, and take his lunch money. Big up your nerds, we love you. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and
Shove him in the locker for me, my boy. Chill.